Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
An unexpected death. A series of horrifying events experienced in a house where the terror takes hold of Esteban. Dare to listen to this episode, and when you go to sleep, don't look under your bed. Hi friends, welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of the Unexplained podcast. I got this story that I found quite interesting. Esteban reached out to me to tell me his story. Hello, I want to tell a story that happened to me when I was 16 years old, and I swear that what I will tell you is the truth. What happened to me was only while I lived in this house, which was about 5 years. We had moved into a very old house. I don't know exactly the year it was built, but we moved there because my family began to do very badly economically. We never got a luxury life, but we lived well. We were middle class. We had some properties that my father got. Unfortunately, he died and left us a lot of debts. In the house, we were 3 men and 1 woman. My sister, the oldest of us. My mother had to sell part of the land to pay part of the debts my dad left. And she also had to look for a job. My sister was the one who usually cooked, and we had to cooperate by helping to clean up. I had never seen or experienced paranormal occurrences until we arrived at this house. The first event was having sleep paralysis. According to what I have read and researched, it is when you wake up, your eyes are open, but you cannot move or speak. I experienced that. I remember wanting to move, but I couldn't. At first, I didn't see anything. It was just an horrible feeling. It was anxiety that I felt. And although it is something very desperate to want to move and not be able to, it was nothing compared to what would come later. I also got to perceive a shadow passing through the corridor and that I managed to see on several occasions. But that was weird, since I never felt afraid of that specific thing. And then I understood why. From the first day in that house, I could never sleep well. Strange events began to happen to me about 2 months after we moved in. Apart from sleep paralysis, I started having very strange dreams, like premonitions. But there were simple things at home with family. For example, one day I had a dream where I woke up, got off the bed, and went to the kitchen. I would see my sister wearing certain clothing and cooking specific food. But then when I woke up and got up, exactly the same thing happened that I had dreamed of. The same scene. My sister was in the same clothes and cooking the same thing exactly as in my dream. On several occasions, something happened to me that to this day I cannot explain. I don't know if this is linked to sleep paralysis, but I see myself lying on the bed on my back, as if my soul or spirit floated, and saw my body sleeping. This caused me a lot of fear. At first, I thought I had died. That first time I woke up sweating with my heart pounding. The second time was a bit terrible because in my consciousness, I knew I was dreaming, and I wanted to wake up, but I couldn't. There were several times where I managed to see an evil being. This one was dark. It was a dark shadow that was materializing little by little, until I could see his bright red eyes staring at me. I woke up sweating and in total panic. Another of the occasions where I saw myself floating the same, seeing myself lying on the bed, but this time I saw a very white, very bright light, and in the distance I saw my dad. This feeling was a bit strange because it was a mixture of peace and at the same time stress, because again, it crossed my mind to think that this time I had already died. Everything intensified. These episodes of sleep paralysis were more frequent and more horrifying. Once I went to the bathroom. I was going to brush my teeth to go to sleep. When I entered the bathroom, I felt very cold and it seemed darker than usual, as if the light bulbs had changed. I felt very uncomfortable. I could feel the presence of someone else. I turned everywhere, sweating in fear, but there was no one there. I was alone. Then, in the mirror, this was the most frightening thing in my life. While I was standing in front of the mirror, I got like a kind of sleep paralysis and I remained motionless without being able to move. But I wasn't dreaming. I was awake, wide awake, and I started to feel that tense and heavy atmosphere. Immediately, panic takes over me and I see that demonic entity reflected in the mirror. And the most terrible thing is that demonic being was me. Then, on different occasions, this is very disturbing. That day, I was very tired. Never but never in my life, thank God, did I need to use any type of drug. The only addiction maybe was to gut energy drinks, because at that time I was working and studying at the same time. That day I arrived home from a gathering with friends. Yes, I accept that I had drunk, but I was always responsible. I didn't get drunk to the point of not remembering things. That day I remember very well that I went to sleep, and at midnight I wake up and get up to the bathroom. My bed didn't have a box spring. It was just the mattress on a base which didn't reach the floor. I mean, you could put things under the bed. That day, as I dreamed that I was getting out of bed and leaving my room to go to the bathroom, I began to feel an horrible fear. And to go to the bathroom, you had to go through a corridor. I remember it was a panic that I couldn't control, but I had the urge to go. So even with a super heavy and tense environment, I go and see a being, or I don't know how to describe it. It was something horrible under my bed. It was the same evil being that I had seen before, with bright red eyes. I woke up with terrible fear. I got up to drink water to try to forget that. I didn't want to go back to my room. I turned the TV on in the living room to distract myself, and after a while I went to my room. Then I fell asleep about an hour, and I dreamt the same thing again. There was this creepy evil being there under my bed, watching me. On one occasion, we had visitors and I went to sleep on the living room sofa. One of my sisters slept in my bedroom, in my bed. And at midnight, she woke up very frightened, telling me that there was something in my bed that would not let her sleep. In my case, unlike other cases of sleep paralysis that I have read or heard, where you feel a tightness in your chest or the famous sensation that you feel something heavy on top of your chest, I felt that my body was immobilized and the sensation was as if I had been tied to the bed, and someone below, it pulled the rope or something so tight that I didn't move, since I felt that I was sinking into the bed, feeling was glued to it without being able to move. Since I felt that I was sinking into the bed, I was glued to it without being able to move. It was a very strange feeling. This became a nightmare for me because there came a time when I didn't want to go to sleep. I began to stay up so late to try to avoid that. I once told my mom, but she didn't seem very surprised by the face she made when I told her. Later, with time, I learned the reason. There were days when I went to sleep on the couch in the living room because it was the only way that I could sleep a little bit more, although strange dreams followed me. That day I decided to move out of the house, my mom and I talked about what was happening. And she came out to talk because I started packing my things. It wouldn't take me much, just a television I had bought. My mom confessed me that she had seen something ugly, but that she had also experienced certain things that she felt were not bad. For example, she says that the shadows that I managed to see, she saw them, but those shadows were something else. My mom and I agreed that they were not menacing. I never felt the panic or anxiety, as with the evil entity under my bed. My mother, she always had faith. She believed in God, had put protection on me. And I remember my mother's words very well. Your dad isn't gone. He's still here looking out for you. I completely forgot what she said to me one day a few weeks after arriving at the house, and I immediately remember as if by magic. It's as if my mind had erased that scene lived with my mom, starting a new life in that house without my dad. Maybe his death at my own age made me block things. I don't know. I can't explain it. But as soon as we got home, my mom says she saw that evil thing, but she didn't want to scare us and didn't say anything. But clearly she told me, before falling asleep, always pray these prayers so that you sleep peacefully, and never ever look under the bed. Friends, Esteban contacted me by voice message, and I could feel his fear telling me. My skin stood on end in such a horrible way just thinking about having lived through it. For me, this story leaves me with a lesson. We know that evil exists, and yes, it is everywhere. What we have to do is entrust ourselves to God, those of us who are believers, and those of us who are not. So act in a good way and attract those good vibes so that nothing disturbs us. If you liked the episode, please share it with someone you know loves paranormal or unexplained stories. Follow me on different podcast platforms to receive notifications whenever a new episode comes out. Follow me on social media where I share previews of new episodes before they are published. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as unexplained.enigma. Facebook, Chronicles of the Unexplained. Thanks for listening and see you all in the next unexplained story.